Hello, my Mythic Tarot friends. Okay, we are on to, after the Hanged Man, we are on to the card of death. Death, death, death. So, I often say this, we die every day. We are not the same people that we were last week, last month, last year. Hopefully, if you're evolving, which is what life is all about, evolving, growing, expanding. So, the death card is an interesting one. Quite interesting, different depictions from this and obviously the Rider-Waite. So we're with the Mythic Tarot. We are talking about the death card. And let's have a look at the symbolism first. So we have always with this, it's interesting. So it's a very important card. Okay, let's just get on with the symbolism and then talk about the meaning. So you have the death card, same as the Rider-Waite. You have the death card, which has the sun rising in the background. So it's not, it could be ambiguous, couldn't it? It could be setting, it could be rising. Actually, yeah, that's a good point, I'm thinking now. It's kind of setting or rising. And actually, thinking about the symbolism of the death card, it's all about letting go of stuff. It's saying goodbye to stuff. It's knowing like it's the end. It's the transformative kind of moment in, simple things like when you consider stag parties. Stag parties are a whole thing. There's a great symbolism to stag parties. Not so much hen parties, but stag parties. Actually, there were old pagan kind of hen parties, but they weren't kind of putting on a hat and having phallic-shaped things sticking out them. But those kind of rituals are all about the end of a bachelor life or the end of a single life, the end of what you'll be doing and how you're kind of going about things. When you're married and in partnership, it's very different from when you're just free and easy doing stuff on your own. So here we have. So that was all about the setting sun. I think it's a setting sun myself because rising suns are normally very bright, aren't they, and white. Very pale yellow, and a setting sun would make far more sense. So we have here the figure of Hades, all right? The figure of Hades, the Lord of the Underworld. Not actually the Lord of Death, who was Thanatos, but this is Hades, the Lord of the Underworld, also known as Pluto, okay? Pluto the Transformer. And Hades, the Dark Lord. And Hades' brothers were Zeus, god of the sky, and Poseidon, god of the waters. Okay, and Hades got the underworld. So, and you'd think about the underworld and you think about hell, don't you? And actually, obviously, we think of it as in like underworld, Hades, Pluto, hell, but it's not really, because it's the underworld. It's that which is unseen. It's the unconscious, the subconscious, or, as I heard the other day, which I thought was really great, the superconscious, because it never kind of stops listening. So it's actually more conscious than conscious. I quite like that. So what we have here is Hades, also known as Pluto, god of the underworld. And when Persephone, who Hades kidnaps and takes into the underworld, the daughter of Demeter, when Persephone gets nabbed and kidnapped into the underworld, basically, she says that the underworld, that Hades had got palaces of silver and gold, okay? There were these enormous grand palaces of gems and all kinds of things, which is what you don't really normally associate with the underworld, do you? But what you have to think about the underworld, and when especially you are thinking about kind of giving some kind of giving your interpretations of these cards, it's a really good thing to think of, because the underworld and Pluto in astrology is the unseen. So it would be oil, it would be gems, it would be super soil, it would be any gas that's hidden under, under the surface. All things that are under the surface are under the rule of Hades, Pluto. And when Persephone gives her description of the underworld as being palatial, equal to that of the Olympian gods, in the heavens, it was all quite shocking, because people think it's all dingy and dark. Well, it is kind of dark, but the gold and silver would give off quite a glow, wouldn't it? So think about this when you're dealing with the death card. What is under the surface, the unconscious, the gems that are underneath? And especially because this card is related to, letting go of the old ways, letting go of what used to have power over you, letting go of, say, the need to stay in a job that you don't like, or the fear of leaving a marriage that isn't working, or having your first child is the death of the life that you knew. It's all about that old guard going, and it's a brand new beginning, which is why you could kind of look at that sun as a sunrise. But I do quite like that. I mean, I do like sunrises because it's after the darkness. It's like the new day, the new beginning, the new start. And the death card is about transforming, so it could be both. It can be that kind of, okay, the old is over, the new is coming, and it's having I think with the death card, it's about having the courage to let go and to trust that there is a whole new chapter on the way, if it's not already here. It's about having the courage to go forward into the new, into the unknown, which is what will happen after things are let go of. Okay, so, and what I quite like about this card is you've got, I'm just trying to work out what these I'm going to say, one's carrying a crown, one is a flower, and one looks like a nugget of gold, which I'm sure it isn't. But what I like about this card is the verdant hills in the background. It's fertile. And again, think about soil, trees, roots. Things get their nutrition from the soil and the roots and what is going on deep down. Whether that's a spiritual deep down, an emotional deep down, or a mental deep down, okay? So the death card is sometimes I kind of just go, oh yeah, it's a card of transformation, endings, letting go of. But when you really kind of look at the layers of what's hidden in the soil and all the nourishment, like I say, that can be got from what's in the dark. I have a friend that has a real thing about mushrooms, because they grow like in the damp dark underneath things. And they say, what nutrients can really come from something that grows in the dark, regarding like dark energy and stuff. But yeah, there is nourishment and nutrient to be got there, isn't it? There's a lot to be said for it. If you know the myth, you know that Pluto and Hades, in the myth, their helmet renders them invisible when they go above into daylight and they leave the underworld, that they have this invisibility helmet. Obviously, he's got an invisibility helmet on, but he's decided to be visible. So people can look upon him. So I think when you think of death and the silver, the gold, the nourishment, the unconsciousness, everything, the shadow, obviously it's the shadow in the underworld. And he hasn't got one here, but normally Hades or Pluto's got a bident. not a trident. It's not a three-pronged fork. It's like it's one of those. It's a two-pronged fork. So, and here you've got the child offering. Obviously, you've got the river Styx here, and the river Styx. There's a few things that you can read about what Styx means. Sometimes I've read that it means disliked, and then other times it can mean like an unbreakable oath, like the unbreakable vow. Once you cross it, you can't go back, type of thing. So this is the river Styx, and the child holding the flower is unafraid of death. Obviously, she's like, "Yay! Here's a flower for you," and the naivety and innocence of just facing, this kind of Lord of the Underworld doesn't give her any hassle. Children aren't afraid of grief. They don't really know grief, the expression of grief, because their innocence and immaturity, they haven't attached to anything. Obviously, once they start losing their little pet hamster and their little fish, then it all starts to hit what grief and death is. But does death really exist? As you know, our spirit is eternal, and all it is a change of energy. Energy never ceases. It just transforms. I'm sure you all know that. So yes, here we have trusting in. It's okay. Let's go back to the symbolism. The children, one's offering a crown. I think that could be almost like the same as the Rider-Waite, where the king is dead in the Rider-Waite, and this whole idea that the king who held everything together is now gone, and things are not being held together anymore. And so there's that opportunity for transforming, to let go, and to just kind of go your own way. That other child holding what looks like a lump of gold, maybe it is, turning the lead into gold. Maybe it is that whole thing of alchemy, which is what it is, isn't it? Death is alchemy. If we die every day and we grow every day, it's turning our personal lead into gold. It's turning, the dark into light, and being all the better for it. So obviously the river Styx. People pass over the river Styx, and if you probably know that, they used to put coins in the mouths of people who had died in order to pay the ferryman, Charon, can't be Chiron, Charon I prefer, but hey, because Karen sounds like your mate down the road, Karen, the ferryman. That phrase, you've got to pay the ferryman. And obviously, in the underworld, you pay your dues. And I think paying your dues with a death card is the emotion and the courage it takes to let go and to go, okay, that's all over. Let's just move on. And I do think it's important, when something like even a job, there's a nice ritual of acknowledgement to go, okay, this has been great, I've really enjoyed it, and now it's over, and now there's something else, but thank you, job. Or, thank you, whoever your partner is that you might be splitting up with, thank you for everything that you taught me. It's been great, You've been a bit of a dick now, but hey, that's okay. Thank you for the lessons. Or maybe the person themselves has been a dick, who knows? So yeah, this lovely death card, because a bit of transformation is what life is about, isn't it? It's exactly what life is about. So obviously once you went into the underworld, there was no coming out. The old ways did it. Reminds me of, it's not the Two Towers, is it? It's Return of the King, where they go into the cave where all the dead people are, the army of the dead. And the way is shut. It's kind of, the way is shut. And this kind of way is shut. There's only one or two people that have managed to con their way into the underworld and get out again. But, so yes, it is a card of allow a mourning, as in mourning the loss, allow the acknowledgement of the letting go, and remember those layers, and the innocence and how children don't know grief, but also this whole thing of that power as that. Is it something that has had hold over you? Let's put it that way. Maybe it's not a power, but something that had hold over you is now dissipated and you are free. You're liberated from something. You're liberated and you're free to kind of move on. So, yeah. So, yeah, that is the death card. Anything else here? I mean, I'm just looking at obviously the dark robes would be the shadow, the unconscious, obviously obvious of the underworld, something that doesn't reflect light. Even though Hades was considered not an unkind god, and as I say, he wasn't the god of actual death. That was Thanatos. So, but yes, the main thing here is the end of the cycle. The whole thing of like moving house, moving job, and it's a bit like I say, we die all the time. So we kind of die from being a child and we get rebirthed into puberty. We die from the puberty, we go into adolescence, and the adolescence you die to and become an adult. So it's all stages, isn't it, of just kind of growth, moving, letting go of what you've grown out of, that you no longer need. And it's about accepting it's normal, it's natural, as is in actual death. I've got a bit of a strange thing about death in a way, because I do see it's like it's just part of life. It is natural. We're not going to live forever. And people do, grieve for years and years and years. And obviously people often grieve for themselves. They don't grieve for the person that's gone into alignment with bliss. They grieve for themselves and they grieve for what they've lost. Which is fine, obviously, but then there's a normal healing and normal evolving from that with the whole death experience. I say that, and it is hard, isn't it? It is, it is hard, but it's a process, isn't it? It's a ritual. It's an initiation journey. Death, to experience the death of something or someone you love. It is an initiation journey, and again, it's how you just go through that as a human. So yeah, I don't think there's anything more to say about that. Just leaving things behind, moving forward, as I say, with courage and fortitude. And I think these children, you see, are these children, or are they meant to be adults? I think they're meant to be adults, offering a crown or offering things up to death before they're enveloped and embraced. But yes, I think that's it. Pluto, Hades, I quite like these. I'm looking at these white hands. They've made those hands very white, haven't they? Like something that takes you. I tell you the best thing I've ever seen about death. And that's in the film, if you've ever seen it, Meet Joe Black. It's a brilliant film. And well worth looking at, the way death is represented in that film. If you're ever up for a very interesting kind of, it's got Anthony Hopkins in it, Brad Pitt, and some other nice people whose names I can't remember, sorry people who are great actors. Yes, if you ever fancy that, then it's a brilliant film of kind of reframing what you think death is or isn't. Anyway, I think it's quite straightforward. I don't think there's anything else to say. There it is, Mythic Tarot deck, the Death card, transformative, end of the old ways, take courage in yourself, go forward with that kind of, that strength and that, that intent to just let it go and flow, just go with the flow, moving forward into the new. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. That is great fun, and obviously the next one's going to be the devil. So hey, have a great day wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again soon. Thank you. Bye bye.